Hello friends. Imagine if you could step into a library where every book holds a different version of your life. A life where you made different choices, took different paths, and explored the endless what-ifs of your existence. This is the extraordinary journey at the heart of The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, a novel that blends philosophy, psychology, and storytelling to take you on an unforgettable adventure. The story follows Nora Seed, a woman overwhelmed with regret, depression, and a sense of failure. She believes she has disappointed everyone, including herself. She is jobless, lonely, and without purpose, feeling trapped in a life filled with what-ifs and lost dreams. She once had the potential to be an Olympic swimmer, but she quit. She was in a band on the verge of fame, but she left. She was engaged to a man named Dan, but she broke off the wedding. She had friendships that faded, a brother she disappointed, and a cat that recently died. Feeling hopeless, Nora decides to end her life by overdosing on pills. But instead of dying, she wakes up in a mystical library, suspended between life and death. The Midnight Library, a place between life and death. Nora finds herself in a strange, infinite library where every book represents a different version of her life, a life she could have lived if she had made different choices. Her childhood librarian, Mrs. Elm, greets her and explains the rules. The library exists between life and death. Every book represents a parallel life Nora could have lived. She can enter any book and experience that life. If she finds a life she truly wants to stay in, she can remain there. If she becomes too disappointed or dissatisfied, she will return to the library. Mrs. Elm hands Nora the Book of Regrets, a massive volume listing every regret she has ever had. This book is overwhelming, forcing Nora to confront her deepest disappointments. She realizes that regret shapes how she sees her life, and now she has a chance to explore those unlived paths. Nora's many lives, exploring parallel realities. After stepping into the Midnight Library, Nora is given a chance to explore different versions of her life, lives where she made different choices. Each time she opens a book, she is transported into that version of herself, experiencing the memories, relationships, and emotions as if she had lived it all along. However, as she soon learns, no life is perfect. A life as an Olympic swimmer. In one life, Nora never quit swimming as a teenager. She had once been an exceptional young swimmer, encouraged or rather pushed by her father, who believed she had Olympic potential. In this alternate reality, she dedicated herself to rigorous training and became an Olympic gold medalist. She is famous and admired, celebrated for her achievements. However, the joy of victory doesn't feel as fulfilling as she had imagined. Nora's father, who had pressured her into this life, is divorced from her mother and remarried. He found his own happiness, but Nora's achievements seem to have been more for him than for herself. She realizes that this wasn't her true passion, it was a path forced upon her. This life brings her fame, discipline, and physical strength, but she feels empty inside. She recognizes that success without personal passion is meaningless. As soon as she acknowledges her dissatisfaction, she returns to the Midnight Library, understanding that being a champion didn't guarantee happiness. A life as a rock star. In another life, Nora stayed with her band, Labyrinth, instead of quitting before they got famous. In this timeline, she is a celebrated musician, adored by thousands of fans. She stands on a massive stage, performing for a stadium of screaming fans. Her brother Joe is still in the band, and they are loved worldwide. People recognize her everywhere, and she has everything she once dreamed of: success, wealth, and influence. However, as she spends time in this life, she discovers something devastating. Joe has died in this reality. He struggled with addiction and depression. Without her leaving the band, he never received the help he needed. Nora realizes that her departure had actually been a turning point in Joe's life in her original timeline. He had survived because she wasn't there to influence him negatively. This shakes her deeply. Despite the glamour of being a rock star, she understands that fame does not bring true joy, especially if it comes at the cost of losing someone you love. Realizing that she cannot stay in a life where Joe is gone, she returns to the library. 3. A life married to Dan. This is one of the biggest regrets Nora carried, breaking up with Dan, her ex-fiancé. She once believed that she had let go of the perfect life, the one where she would have been loved and secure. In this version of reality, Nora married Dan, and they now run a cozy countryside pub together. At first glance, it feels like the happy, simple life she always wanted. The pub is successful, and people in the town know and like her. However, it doesn't take long before the cracks begin to show. Dan drinks heavily, much more than she remembered. Their marriage is not loving, but rather a forced companionship. She learns that Dan has cheated on her multiple times, something she never suspected before. She realizes that his dream of running a pub was never truly her dream. She just went along with it. This life, which she once idealized as the one that got away, is nothing like she imagined. She understands a powerful truth. Sometimes we regret the loss of things that were never meant for us in the first place. Feeling trapped in a life she no longer desires, she returns to the library once again. 4. A life as a scientist. In this version of her life, Nora becomes a glaciologist, working in the Arctic Circle, studying climate change. She is part of a research team, living in extreme conditions. She feels intellectually fulfilled, knowing that her work is contributing to a greater cause. She experiences adventure and purpose, something she had always dreamed of. However, this life has dangers too. One day, while out in the field, she comes face to face with a polar bear. She freezes in fear, realizing she is on the brink of death. The terror she feels in that moment is unlike anything she has ever experienced. In that instant, she understands that no life is without risk or suffering. There is no perfect life, only lives with different struggles. She returns to the library, shaken but wiser. The realization, the meaning of life. After experiencing multiple realities, Nora begins to understand a fundamental truth. 1. Happiness comes from within. No external success, wealth, or fame can make you happy if you don't feel fulfilled inside. 2. Every life has its own struggles. Even the best life has pain, loss, and suffering. The idea of a perfect life is an illusion. 3. Regret is misleading. Many of the choices she regretted actually saved her from worse fates. The turning point, losing the library. As she gains clarity, the midnight library begins to collapse. Mrs. Elm warns her, if she doesn't make a choice soon, she will be lost forever. She must decide whether to live or die. The library fades, forcing her to make a final choice. Desperate, Nora realizes she wants to live. The life that matters, choosing to live. Nora wakes up in her real body, gasping for air. She calls for help, and paramedics save her. With a new appreciation for life, she begins to rebuild her world. She reconciles with her brother, repairing their strained relationship. She reaches out to old friends, choosing connection over isolation. She finds joy in small things, understanding that life is not about chasing perfection. The story ends on a hopeful note. Life is worth living, not because it's perfect, but because of the possibilities it holds. Themes and lessons from the Midnight Library. 1. The power of choice. Life is shaped by small choices, and there's no single perfect path. Instead of dwelling on regrets, we should focus on making the best of our present. 2. Every life has struggles. No matter what path we take, there will always be hardships. The key is finding meaning, not avoiding pain. 3. The danger of regret. Regret distorts our perception of reality. We often romanticize the past, thinking other choices would have made us happier. The Midnight Library teaches that the life we have is full of opportunities if we choose to embrace them. 4. Mental health and hope. The novel addresses depression and suicidal thoughts with sensitivity. It emphasizes that life is worth living, even when it feels meaningless, because change is always possible. The Midnight Library is a beautiful, thought-provoking book that reminds us that life is a journey, not a single path. It teaches self-acceptance, resilience, and the importance of embracing life as it is. It encourages us to let go of regrets and focus on the present. It is a story of hope, transformation, and rediscovering the value of being alive. Matt Haig masterfully blends philosophy, science, and storytelling to create a book that resonates with anyone who has ever questioned their life choices. The message is clear. Happiness isn't found in a different life. It's found in how we choose to live the one we have. This story has the potential to change the way you see your past, your present, and your future.